you are hearing me from. My name is Benga Adeyemo, and I'm the community lead for the Winnipeg Power Platform User Group. The program that you are in now is being organized by the Winnipeg Power Platform User Group in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I have another person here with me on the call. His name is Oyedin Roke. He's also the community lead for the Winnipeg Power Platform User Group. And we started pretty last year, October, and we've had a lot of sections, bringing different speakers, different expertise to come and talk about topics ranging from Power BI to Power Automate to Fabrics, to a whole lot of topics like that we've done. And we were also happy that we organized the Global Power Platform Bootcamp in February 2025. And the Winnipeg user group, it's a user group that we share ideas, we collaborate, we share anything related to Power Platform and even job opportunities, right? So we collaborate together, we share new ideas. We started a Power BI class since last year, October, which will be ending by the end of April. We started a Power Apps class, right? Last week, Sunday. It's going to be every Sunday till God knows when. So the class is going to run every Sunday, 8 to 9 p.m. CDT, right? We believe Sunday it's a cool day. Everybody will definitely be free, or let me say almost everybody, right? So that's why we put it on a Sunday so that people will be able to join, right? So we started the Power BI class. It has been wonderful. The community lead, which is already on okay, recently passed his PL 300, which is something that we are happy and jealous about as the community. And we are hoping that more and more people are also going to pass their PL 300 exam. And this year we have a lot of plans in terms of certifications, in terms of exposing people to a lot of technologies within the Power Platform and see the wonders of Power Platform, right? And what brought about to this topic is that there was a time in my place of work that we wanted 2 or 3 developers to be working on one Power BI file. And it seems it was impossible, but it was actually possible. It was because there was no knowledge, right? And that was what brought about today's topic. Today's topic is continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline in Power BI. So today I'm going to show us how you can use PBIX, PBIP, Git, GitHub, and your Visual Studio Code to actually create and manage the automation of your changes that you make in your CI/CD process, right? So it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. You guys can ask me questions at any time. Uh, you have contributions. You can also contribute. It's going to be an interactive section. Please, if you have contributions, or if you have anything that is that you feel maybe it's not the right way to do it or it's a better approach, you can just contribute to it with respect. Also, we also want you to mute yourself if you are not trying to ask a question or trying to contribute something. We will not like background noise because this section is being recorded and it's going to be on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much, everyone. So let's start. So what is CI/CD? What is CI/CD? CI/CD, CI means continuous integration and CD means continuous deployment. So today we are going to learn how one can streamline the development and the deployment workflow using version control, automated testing, and continuous integration for Power BI solutions. So as I said earlier, CI means continuous integration, right? So it means when you are regularly saving and combining your Power BI project files. Power BI has 3 major file type. The PBIX, which we are used to. There's the other one. I can't remember that one now, but it's the one of the project file, which is the PBIP, right? In a shared version control system. So because you make a lot of changes, you probably change something, you inserted something, you do a lot of stuff on your Power BI project file, and you want to be able to track these changes. You want to track who made the change, at what time, at what day, at what part of the project file did they make that change, right? Did they delete something? Were there insertions? Were there deletions? All those kinds of things are what CI/CD is about, right? And when we say continuous deployment, it means that when you automatically publish updated report and data sets to the Power BI service after testing and approval, right? It means that developers, developer one, developer two, developer three, can actually work on one Power BI file, right? And the whole thing will be able to track, the different pull requests, the different changes and updates that comes to that Power BI file. So that is what continuous deployment and continuous integration is about. So together, CI/CD helps Power BI developers collaborate better, reduce errors because you are going to be seeing every change, who made the change, what change, right? And speed up delivery for insights, right? Okay, let's go ahead. Now, what do you need? What is the, if you want to cook, for example, there are ingredients. For example, you want to cook jollof rice. There are ingredients that you need to have for that jollof rice to come out. You need rice, you need pepper, you need salt, you need a lot of other things that you add in depending on how you want to garnish your jollof rice, right? So for CI/CD to happen in Power BI, there are some elements that we need to combine together to make this work, right? I told you about the project file, the Power BI project file, PBIP or PBIP, yes. So we are going to be converting or saving a PBIX file as a PBIP file. That's the first thing. We need Git. So Git is actually the one that is helping you to track that version control, those changes, those updates, when you delete, when you add this, when you remove this, all of those things. It is Git, right? So Git is an open distributed system, that allows you to track your changes and helps you to collaborate on Power BI project files, right? Another element you need is GitHub repository. So for people that probably don't know, it's the difference between Git and GitHub. Git is for version control. GitHub is for remote repository, right? Now we have the Visual Studio Code, right? Now, Visual Studio Code is not a repository itself. It's just a text editor, a code editor, right? That you use for managing, you can even use it to edit, right? And sync your Power BI. If there are any changes that comes to your Power BI project file, you are going to be using Visual Studio Code to sync those changes. You can decide to use it to discard the changes. You can decide to sync the changes. So it all depends, right? Okay, let's go ahead. Number 5, you need the git.ignore file. So you see that the git.ignore file, what it does is that it asks you to exclude all the unnecessary files, right? And cache files from your version control. There are some files that you might not be necessary for you to have them, right? But with git ignore, you can move them to the git ignore file and it will not be part of your version control. We have the Power BI, Power Platform CLI, Power BI REST API. Although I'm not going to be going into this, I'm not using this for today, but it's part of the elements that you might need for you to perform your CI/CD in your Power BI project file. We have the GitHub actions, right, for automated testing and deployment of Power BI content, and your Power BI service, of course, because at the end of the day, that is where the whole report is going to be, right? That is where stakeholders are going to be viewing your report. So you guys sometimes create different workspaces: the development workspace, the testing workspace, and the production workspace. In the initial build of Power BI, there was no consideration for CI/CD because CI/CD is a terminology used mostly among the software guys, right? That because they build softwares and they update different features to the softwares, to the applications from time to time, and software engineers need to be able to track, the different changes when they make the change. If maybe for example they want to revert to an old version of that application, right? They can easily do that because they have a CI/CD pipeline in place. So because now we have brought this concept also to Power BI to make sure that developers, teams, data teams, and organizations can track changes that could be might come from maybe stakeholders requirements. Maybe there's a new feature you want to add. You must be able to track who does what, who did it at what time, and when was the change made. So that is that. Now the first step is that we have a Power BI file, a PBIX file, and we are going to now save that PBIX file as a PBIP file, a Power BI project file. Now, that's the first step. But for you to actually get it right, for you to be able to save that your PBIX file into a Power BI project file, you need to first do something. You need to go to the options and settings, right? Options and settings, and make sure that you check the option Power BI project file save option, right? So when you do that, you are going to click on OK, and you have to restart you have to close and open back that same Power BI file again before you save it as a PBIP file, right? So let's start from there. But I will still go to the practical part of things, but I just want to show us, like, tell us about the steps we are going to go through for us to be able to achieve this CI/CD pipeline. So you export it as a PBIP, you go to save as, blah, blah, blah. You do all of that, right? So after you've enabled the feature, you save as PBIP. Now, when you save as PBIP file, project file, when it becomes a project
Uh,
file, your PBIX, sorry?
Hello. Sorry, Benga. This is my name is Austin.
Yeah.
Is it okay to ask you a question here?
Yeah, you can ask me questions. Yeah, why not?
All right. Thank you, Benga. This is really good, right?
Mm.
Um, Now, my experience over the couple of years I've been using Power BI, okay,
Yeah.
I've not worked on any project where I have someone else working on the same file,
Mm.
um, my Power BI file that we're working together, right?
Mm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
usually
Mm-hmm.
individual based work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I mean, these CICD may be a bit strange to some of us that are not from, wouldn't have this software programming or background, okay, where this is
Okay.
usually used, like you said earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
So I use an Excel, for example. Excel, yes, you can put Excel in a SharePoint where a lot of other people can actually, work on at the same time. Okay.
Mm.
So as you are talking, I can relate what you are saying with an Excel file shared with some other people that can edit that file and
Mm.
then see the version control, see the changes made on that Excel
Mm-hmm.
file,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is
Mm-hmm.
how I'm able to absorb what you are saying. You understand? So have you seen a situation where you've seen a Power BI where you have more than one people, more than one or two, three, four developers working on the
Yeah.
same? I've not come across that, to be honest. I've always
Mm.
been a lone worker on the Power BI project.
Yeah. So that's what we are doing today, to show you
Okay,
how that is possible. Yeah.
super. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. So as I was saying, right, I said the first thing is to save your PBIX file to a PBIP file. And to do that, you need to go to your options and settings. You need to make sure you check in the preview feature part of the options and settings. You will go and check the Power BI project file save option. I'm going to show us that when you do that, you press OK, you save your file, you close it, and you reopen it again, right? Before you save it as a project file. Let's go ahead. So the next thing after that is that when you create that PBIP file, when you save as PBIP, like Power BI project file, the next thing that happens is that it's going to break. You see a folder being created. right? To tell you to save it in a folder will be created, and that folder has the structure, right? The first folder that you probably see is the report folder that contains the visual layer. That is your reports.json, right? Your visuals, if you have used any bookmark, any kind of formatting on your Power BI, on your PBI, everything will be saved inside the report file. Another file or another folder, sorry, so let me use the word folder rather. Another folder that you probably see is the semantic model folder, right? This folder contains the data model and the data set logic, that is all your relationship between the different tables, how your tables are related to each other. You will see all of those things in your definition.json, right? All the measures that you have used, all your connections, all your expressions, all your encode, right? You will see all of these things saved in the semantic model folder. Let's go ahead. Then you will see two files, your project, well, your PBIP file will also be in that folder, right? And also you will see the git.ignore file also. Now, let me go back to the semantic model folder. In that semantic model folder, there's one important file that you will see there that you are going to be doing most of the major work, which is the model.bin. The model.bin file holds the structure. So it does not hold the data, it does not hold anything. It only holds the structure of your Power BI project file. It holds the structure. That is everything from your measures to your relationship to everything. You'll be able to view them in the model.bin file. Now, the reason why it's important for us to save our PBIX into a project file is because we need to be able to make changes. We need to turn that PBIX file into different folders that are version controllable, right? That is why we need to see, so that we can able to edit different parts, because saving it as a project file now gives you the option of seeing that PBIX file as different components that you can go there, you can edit, you can make changes, right? You can publish the folder, you can push it or publish it to a remote repository, and another developer can clone that repository, right? And also work and make changes on that Power BI file. Now let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. So when you now have the different structure, the folders, the files saved in a folder on your local system, it does not automatically become a local repository, right? You need to initiate it to become a local repository. Now, one of the things that you do after you've saved your file as a PBIP file, you save it in a folder, on your local system. The next thing is to download the Visual Studio Code, right? You download the Visual Studio Code and you also download Git, right? Now, you will use the Explorer parts of the Visual Studio Code to connect to that PBIP project folder. We are going to be making some small changes just to test. You see how it works. You see how when you're making changes, it's going to be syncing into your Power BI, your PBIP file. And the syncing is not actually automatic, right? It's when you open that PBIP file that you see the changes that you've made using your Visual Studio Code, right? So in your VS Code, you initiate the repository, you configure your email and the username, right? Some people ask me that, is it compulsory that the email and the username I'm going to be configuring in my VS Code is it compulsory that it's the same email that I'm using in my Power BI for my Power BI accounts? And I say no. But in a corporate setting, I advise that you use the same email, you're using the same official email you are using, so that it's easier to track who made the change, when you made that change, and at what change did you make, right? So you are going to be committing main. So when we say commit main, it means that you are going to be creating a new branch. That branch is actually just telling us that this was the initial state of your PBIP file when we connected to it in the source control, right? This is the initial state, and if you are making any commit, you are making any changes, that it's possible that we create a new branch, or we still commit those changes inside the main branch, which is the initial branch that was created, right? We are publishing. So, with VS Code, you can be making changes actually to your Power BI project file, right? But the reason why we need a remote repository So when you initiate your local repository with your VS Code, that means it's only you that can make the changes. It's only you that can see the changes that you are making because it is locally stored in your local computer. But when you publish your branch, that's your first branch, you publish that repository to remote repository like GitHub. It gives the opportunity for other developers to clone that your repository, and they can also control and make changes to your Power BI project file, right? So I'll be telling you the difference between commit and branch. Let's go ahead. So the other things that I'm going to be looking at today, which is the Git fetch. You're going to be looking at the Git pull and also the Git push. We'll look at the difference between these three because we are going to be using them a lot in this our CI/CD process, right? We are going to see the difference between the three. So let's start the practical part of things now, and we are going to see how the whole thing is going to go. I hope the foundation part is clear. If you have questions, you can still come and you can still ask me before I start the practical part. Somebody saying something?
Okay, so I wanted to ask that.
Yeah.
Will it be possible to get like the class notes so I can go back to it?
The class notes.
Like the slideshow of what you were showing us now.
Yeah, I can save that as a PDF and probably send it to this Teams chat afterwards.
Okay.
If that is fine by you, welcome. Okay, so I have the PBIX file. I have it in this Power Platform Winnipeg folder. And this is the file. So I'm going to open the file for you to see what is there. So let me open the file. So this Power BI file is the file I use for my recent YouTube video on how to handle slow changing dimension type 2 in Power BI. How you can use surrogate key and natural key to actually manage your data model. So yeah, the Power BI file is still open. Let's wait for like few seconds. Oh, it's opening on my second screen here. Let me drag it to this screen. So let me know if you can see the Power BI file. Can you see the Power BI file, guys?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. So the first thing I'm going to be doing now is that I'm going to actually write a measure. I'm going to be writing a measure. I'm going to create a new measure because the amount that I have here is an implicit measure, right? I just dragged and drop on this matrix table. But now let me create a new table. Enter data, and I'm just going to call this hash calculations, right? I click on load, and I'll click on load. Okay. Now that I have my new table created, I will be keeping all my measures in this new table that I just created, the hash calculations. So I have it here. So I'm going to be saying new measure, and I'll just use the sum, and I'll call it sales amount. I'm going to call it sales amount, say equals to the sum of sales amount in the sales table, right? And I press enter. Now I have that. So I'm going to go and remove this one and use the sales amount that I just created here. Come on, drag. Yeah. So I have it here now. Now, let me save my work. Let me save my file. Okay. If we save, then I'm going to go to the file option here, and I'm going to go to options and settings. I'll click on options, and I'll go to preview futures here. Preview futures, and you scroll down a little and you will see that option, the Power BI project file, the project save option. And make sure you check this store report using enhanced metadata format. Now, if you do not check this, what will happen is that you are not going to be able to see the model.bin file. It happened to me when I was trying to practice this for the first time. I didn't check this option. I only checked this one. And although I got the file, right? I got my file structure and everything, but I didn't get the model.bin file, right? And which is the most important part of the process. I need the model.bin file because I'm not going to be editing any other part apart from the model.bin file for this section, right? So make sure you check this. Now, the issue with this, if you check this one, storing your semantic model as TMDL. Well, I don't really like the option. That's me personally. Somebody else might like the option if you know how to use it. But for me, I don't like the option of this TMDL format, right? I prefer interacting with the model.bin file. So that's why I'm going to be checking this option instead of this one, right? So I'm checking the option. I pressed OK. And when I press OK, I'm going to save my file once again just to make sure everything is fine. Then let me close it. Let me close it. And after closing, I'm going to come back and reopen it again. I'm going to reopen it again. So wait for a few seconds while it opens before we go and save it as a Power BI project file. And you're going to see all the folders that are going to be created when we save it as a Power BI project file. Okay, let's wait for a few seconds. After this, we are going to go and install the Visual Studio Code and also install Git. So now that everything looks good, come on, load. It's fine now. Then I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Save As. You will see that you see three options here: PBIX, PBIT, PBIP. Right. So I'm going to let me just say browse device. Browse device. So let me where can I save this stuff? Let me create a new folder here. Let me create a new folder here. I'll create a new folder here and I'll call it CICD. You can name it anything. It's not compulsory you name it CICD. CICD demo folder. CICD demo folder. And I'm going to be saving that my project file inside this CICD demo folder. Right? And I can call it CICD demo file. But don't worry about all of these things. Just make sure you save it as a PBIP file, Power BI project file, and you click on save. And you click on save. Then on the upper part here, you see that it has now, what you're seeing now is the Power BI project file, not the PBIX again, right? So if I go back to this folder, I will see the CICD demo folder there, right? And I will see these four things: the report folder, the semantic model folder, the git.ignore, right? The PBIP file itself. They are all, when I saved as Power BI project file, these four folders is going to be created. You'll see them. So now it has turned your Power PBIX into some sort of structure that you can interact with, that you can now use this. No, so when you do this, you are doing it because it will now allow you to be able to version control your project file. So that is the first stage. Now let's go back to my slide. What did we say is the second stage? The second stage is to download the Visual Studio Code. So actually, I had it downloaded before, but I had to uninstall because I wanted to show us something. There are some errors that you might get when you install and you're trying to create probably your first initial repository, and all of those things can happen. So how do you resolve all of those kind of different issues? So I'm going to go to my download folder here, and I'm going to type studio because I have it downloaded already. So this is my setup file for my Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to double click that to install it, right? So show you how the installation goes. So you see this, you must accept the agreement. If you want to read through the whole agreement, you can read through it and click on next. You click on next again, you click on next. You want to create a desktop icon, you can check all of this. If you want to be able to use Visual Studio Code to open some files in your folders, you can also check all of this and click on next and I click on install. So I'm going to wait for a little while this Visual Studio Code will install, right? Okay. So when the Visual Studio Code is done installing, the next thing I do is to open the Visual Studio Code and I'm going to interact with that project file that I just saved. Okay, installation done. Then I'll tell it to launch. So now I have my Visual Studio Code. Please let me know if you can see the Visual Studio Code, please.
Yes, very clear.
Okay, thank you. Now that you have your Visual Studio Code, what's the first thing that you are going to do? The first thing is that I'm going to be connecting to that folder, that CI/CD demo folder. I will connect to that folder. That's the first thing I'm going to be doing. So I'll go click on File, and I'll say Open Folder. I'll click on Open Folder, and I'm going to look for that folder. Go to my documents, and I scroll down to Power Platform Winnipeg. That's where, and I will see the CI/CD demo folder, and I click on Select Folder. And you will see that all those folders and files that you were seeing on your file explorer the other time, you have it now. And you tell you, do you trust this author? And I'll say, yes, I trust the authors, right? And now you will see all of this, the same thing you have in your file explorer. And you can, you can go through them to see what they contain. These are the settings that I have on that PBIP file. Definition talks about, you see the different pages that I have, the page.json, the reports.json, version.json, and all of these things you see there, right? But the part that I'm interested in the most is this model.bin file, because this is the part that has all your table relationships, your measures and everything. They are in the models.bin file. And this is your PBIP file, right? The project's file. This is it here, right? The model.bin file. So now let's say, for example, I want to, let's say maybe I want to change the title of my sales amount. So I'm going to be using Control Find, right? I'm going to be saying Control F, and this find, what's it called? This find window will come out here like this. Then I will say amount, right? I'll type amount, and you see that this is not the first thing I see is the column sales amount that I have in the in one of my tables, right? In that data model. Then I will just scroll down, like I will click on the down button here to see everywhere there's sales amount. And you see that that measure that I created, the sales amount measure that I created, right? I can see it here. The name of the measure is sales amount, and the expression is sum of sales amounts that I just did. Nice. So let's say instead of sales amount, let me open back the Power BI file, and you see that sales amount is sales space amount. So let's say I want to change it to sales underscore amount, and I don't want it to be sales space amount. I will just come here and edit and just put the underscore, right? And but the thing is that when you go back to your Power BI project file, it does not automatically sync, right? You don't see that sales amount. So what you're going to do in this scenario is to close this, and probably you reopen it again, right? You can reopen it again. So let's wait for a few seconds for the Power BI project file to reopen. So it's going to open again, and now you will see the changes that you have made. Now, for the fact that you can make changes from the Visual Studio Code to your project file does not automatically mean that that folder has become a local repository. You need to initiate it to become a local repository. Oh, what's the problem here? sales underscore amount. Something is wrong. Let me see what the problem is.
No, Mr. Benga, I'm not sure anything is wrong. You are fine. All we need to do is remove under the values, remove that sales amount under value.
Oh,
And
thank you. Yeah, thank you. So I put it back now
yeah.
and everything looks good. Thank you for that, sir.
Yes,
Right?
honestly, I'm amazed with what you're doing. I'm getting value from this
Thank you, sir.
because I actually thought, in my um, Excel word, I thought you would need to save that Visual Studio code before it's effective. I'm seeing that you did not save it, and it's
Yeah.
taking changes on here. Wow,
Yes. Yes.
wow.
Thank
Anyway,
you, sir.
sorry, let me just
So,
keep quiet.
yeah, thank you. So the next thing that we want to do now is, let's say I want to change this my measure. I want to say that my that expression is now sum of sales amount multiplied by 2. I want to double. I'll just come here and edit that and say this sum of sales amounts column multiply by 2, right? And I'm going to go back again. It's not going to sync automatically. I'm going to go back again. I'm going to close this. I can say don't save. And I'm going to reopen it again. And the Power BI project file will read through what is going on in my Visual Studio Code, and it will update that new measure. You see that all of the numbers that you are seeing before now are now going to be multiplied by 2. I mean, for the sales amount. Mr. Said Kolako.
Yeah, good morning. So just a quick one, right? So I was
Yes,
just
sir.
thinking, let's say I've gotten feedback from my stakeholders and I know just the changes I'll be making. Is it advisable to just walk off Visual Studio when I'm done, then I open the Power BI, rather than closing and kind of opening every time to see the changes I've made? Can I make like generic change all through, then open the
Yes,
Power
so
BI
there are
file to see all
different
those changes?
ways. Anyway, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can decide. So this what we are teaching here is actually just when you want to collaborate. If it's only you that is working on a project and you don't
Yeah.
have other developers on the same file, you don't need to do all of this.
Oh,
Do
okay,
you
great.
understand me, sir?
Oh,
But this
okay.
is just when you want to collaborate with other developers, that's when you need to do all of this Visual Studio Code and the rest,
Oh, I see.
right?
I see. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So now, guys, you see that when I open up again, what I see is that the measure that I multiplied by 2 in my Visual Studio Code here, I can now see the effect of that. Now, when you go back to the measure here, what did you see? That multiplied by 2 is now there. Joseph Ayolua.
Yeah, so you mentioned that collaboration. So if we are collaborating with someone, can I just open the PBIP file and make these changes in the PBIP file instead, and it syncs across?
So the
Is that
original
possible?
developer can have the PBIP file and the folder and the rest. You are going to clone that repository from GitHub,
Okay.
and you are going
Okay.
to be able to work on the same file. So when you commit changes and so there are 2 ways. I'm going to show you that in GitHub. You can either commit the change directly. It means that you don't need anybody's to accept the change. Like you don't need anybody, maybe you don't need a team to review the change. It reads inside your PBIP like straight away. And there's another one we call pull request, that you put the request. When you commit the changes, you pull a request, and maybe your team lead or the BI manager or whoever is in charge will see that request and they will approve it before it syncs into your PBIP file. Is it clear, Joseph?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So now we see that the changes I've made from Visual Studio Code, it has actually synced. So I can even go ahead and create probably a new measure. Let me do that before I answer your Mikun. Let me do that right away. I can create a new measure. So how will I create a new measure in this Visual Studio Code? I can just copy exactly what I have here. I can copy this, right? I can go do and create another line. I can paste it. I can paste it, and I will name this as, let me name this as staff counts, staff counts, right? And what will be my DAX expression? it will be the distinct count of staff ID in the staff table. The distinct counts. The reason why I cannot use what was it called? Count is because we have it's a slow changing dimension type 2 kind of table. So if I do a count, it will duplicate the numbers. So distinct counts of what? Staff ID in the staff table. No, it's not showing me the right way. So I'll say staff, right? And I pull this and I also put it here, right? Now, after this expression here, I'll put a comma, right? So you can recognize that this one is stopping, is ending here, and a new measure is being created here. Now, I will intentionally make a mistake, and I will show us how to go about it when you encounter that kind of mistake. So now, I'm going to, probably just leave it the way it is, and I'm going to try and close this my file here, just to show you something, guys, just to show you something. And I'm going to try and to reopen it again. An error will pop out. You see an error. The Power BI project file will not open. And I will tell you the reason why. It's not going to open. It will throw an error. Aha, let me show you the error. See what is going on. Issues were found. There was a problem with the folder, blah, 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 blah. Cannot serialize database error. An object with lineage tag, this also lineage tag already exists in the collection. So what does this even mean? What does this mean? Now, what this means is that you will see that these two measures, they have the same lineage, they call it lineage tag. And they are not supposed to have the same lineage tag because I copied this one, pasted it here, and edited the measure, the expression, and the name of the measure to create this new measure. And now they have the same lineage tag, and they are not supposed to. So you might encounter that error, right? And the way to sort that is by doing this. I'm going to be opening my browser. I'm going to open my browser. Just give me 1 minute. I'm going to open my browser. And I'm going to go to the website, GUID generator. I go to GUID generator, and I say, generate some GUIDs for me. And it gives me a new GUID. That's the one I'm using for my lineage tag. And I will come here and make sure that that GUID number does not exist anywhere before now. And I'm going to come here, right, and change the lineage tag to this new GUID number that I just created, right, that I just generated from the GUID generator website. So I'm going to, let me even drop the link to that GUID generator. I'm going to be dropping the link in the chat section for anybody that wants to use that link to generate their own GUID. And I've pasted that in the chat section now. Now, when I have this new one, okay, the next thing I'm going to do now is to now go back and open back my CI/CD demo file, which is my project file, right? And now I'm going to see my new measure. So two measures cannot have the same, what was it called? Two measures cannot have the same GUID number. Okay, it's not still opening. Let me try it again. Okay. Yeah, before that is wherever that is open. Lucky. Or let me know Ayomikun first. Ayomikun Ade.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you
Afternoon,
for
sir.
this session. So I was just a bit concerned about the fixed error that shows when you make an edit to the measure. When you are changing, when you are opening this now, rather than removing the sales amount and putting in another one, can you just click on the fix error to see if it will fix this to see if it will automatically fix the error? Reason I'm asking is because the stakeholders that might be using this dashboard might not be tech savvy, so they might be wondering why is it broken. So would that fix this just automatically fix it for them, rather than
No, it will not. It will not. But essentially, if I tell you that sometimes all of this can be very funny, because while preparing for the class, this error never happened.
Oh, okay.
But this is tech. You can just see any error from anywhere you've not seen before. And you start wondering, what's going on? But I did this thing yesterday now.
Yeah.
So it happens.
If different people are working on reports and they are changing measures and all that, that mean that it will always bring these broken down visualizations wherever they've made any edits.
If I tell you that this is the first time I've ever seen it like this, anytime I do this, it's always thinking without me having to drag back sales a month again.
Okay.
Right? So maybe what I need to do, probably need to do, is to save it before closing and reopening again. So that will not happen. So now you see that the staff count now is now there. Now let me Lucky. The staff count that I just created now is now part of the measure in my ash calculation table.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon from this end. From this end, okay. Well done, Mr. Gbenga. It's quite insightful.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. For what you're doing now, VS Code is a platform where you can write different languages. When it comes to programming, you can do several programming languages. It's just for the purpose of selecting what you want to use, and you go about doing it. Now, looking at the format of what showed when we opened that file in VS Code, it looks like a JSON file to me. Now, does it mean that is the format? If you want to code, like if you want to write your DAS and everything, you have to write in that format. So in the case I decide to build measures using that build measures using VS Code, does it mean that's the file I'm going to use? Is there any part? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Is there any particular dedicated platform where you can write maybe DAS functions that is close to what we have on Power BI? No, this is like a JSON file to me. Now, so I don't know if this is the format. If this is what we use when it comes to Power BI.
Okay, so this is not how it is in Power BI desktop, right?
No, I know if you have to use VS Code, that's what I'm saying.
Now you have to use VS Code, you have to follow the format of the VS Code. So here now, you see that, VS Code is not actually, VS Code is just an editor. Are you getting my point, sir?
Yes.
I want us to get it clear.
I understand.
This model.bin file is the one that is holding the structure of your data model. So what you will see there is not just the name of the measure. You see the name of the measure, you see the expression, you will see the format string. This one has to do with the format of maybe it's general, maybe it's percentage, maybe it's whole number. That's what you will see on this line, right? And for every of the measure, there is a lineage tag. That's what you see here. Do you understand me, sir?
Yeah, what I was about saying is this. I agree with you when you say VS Code is an editor. Yes, it's quite you're very correct when it comes to that. But what I'm saying is I can write any programming language using this platform. You understand?
Yes.
VS Code also respects the language, you're writing. Like if you're writing, for example, you're writing C#, you understand, okay, this is C#, I can compile and it runs accordingly. I'm only asking what was the format of Power BI, especially when you're writing DAS. Is it if you're writing DAS, you write measure on Power BI, there's syntax to it, there's format you must follow. If you don't follow that format, it will throw error. You get what I'm saying? So I'm only asking what format does it take when it comes to VS Code? Is it the form of JSON as we are seeing it now, or there's another format? That's what I'm only asking.
Sincerely, I don't know. But all I know is that when I open my model.bin file and I want to create a new one, I will just follow the formats that I see here. But whether there's a name for the language, I don't know.
Okay, so just to maybe I can help. Power BI
please
mostly
go ahead.
is Power BI is mostly it works with JSON files. So if you are saving a template from Power BI, is a JSON format is going to give you. Likewise for this model.beam is giving you a JSON format. So if you are going to use VS Code to do your editing, is JSON language you would have to use to do the editing of the file. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for
thank
that.
you. Thanks. Thank you, Bingo.
Thank you. Yeah. So now that I've seen this, right? Now, you know that every change that I'm making now, that I've made in the VS Code that is syncing to my Power BI PBIP file, I cannot track those changes. I cannot see what was the name of the change that I made, when did I make that change, and all of that. So that is when we now need the source control. The source control. I'm also going to be installing some extensions like the Fabric extension and the Power BI extension for us to do what is called rebind and clone. Now, before we go to that, let's go to the source control. Now, for us to do version control, we need to install Git, right? Because Git is what is allowing us to do that version control, right? So the VS Code in itself cannot do the version control. We need Git, right, to do it. So now, if you see this for the first time, what you need to do is to go to download Git for Windows. But because I already have Git downloaded in my folder, I'm just going to go to my downloads and I'm going to look for Git, right? I'm going to look for Git. I have it downloaded here already. Why is this not coming up? Git, yeah. So this is my Git setup file. I'm going to double click it to install it and wait for a little while. So you can read through all of these agreements, blah, blah, blah. Next. Install a folder anyway. Yes. So I want to have it on desktop. What again do I want to see? Updates, blah, blah, blah. Okay, next. Git next. So here I'm going to say use Visual Studio Code as a Git default editor, right? I click on next. I can put every other thing as default, the way they are, right? Next. So let me go back here. Okay, next, then install. Install. So let's wait for few seconds when we have our Git is installing. Okay, I don't need to actually launch Git, but this is how it looks like, right? So I minimize it, minimize this. Now I have my Git installed, right? So source control might not capture automatically. So what you can do is to probably close the Visual Studio Code and probably reopen it again. Reopen the Visual Studio Code. Okay. So let me connect back to that folder. Our platform, impact, CICD demo. Okay, connected. Then I'll come here. Now it will tell you to now initiate repository. This is when it now becomes a local repository now, right? So you click on initiate repository, right? Now, this is what you're going to see. All of these default files, they come as changes, like default changes that came, right? So you can decide to just you know, add all of these things to the git.ignore, because they are not necessary for what we want to do. So you can just move them to the git.ignore. So I'm going to be adding all of them to the git.ignore. The only one I'm going to be leaving is the model.bin file. So add to git.ignore, add to git.ignore, add to git.ignore. So I'll be doing that for all of these ones, right? I don't need them as part of my changes. Add to this, add to this, add to git.ignore. As I'm adding them to git.ignore, you are seeing it that is being added on your right side. Diagram layouts. Let me leave this one. Okay. So now, there's something I talked about, branch and commit. So see branch as that that folder that has probably, that it as a version control folder that has probably all the changes that you made, all of those changes, right? That you are making. So you can be, when you make a change, you commit that change. You can decide to put all those changes inside one branch, and you can decide to create different branches that has different kind of changes inside them, right? So we call it commits, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say stage all changes, right? It all changes. Then I click on commit. So let me call this init. It means that the initial branch will be created when I click on this commit, right? So I click on commit. So what you are seeing here is the branch. You see what I did now? When I type init and I clicked on commit, the first branch was created. So see this branch as a folder that can have different commits inside it. So commit is the different changes that you make to your Power BI project file, right? Let me close this git.ignore, and now the model.bin. Now, now that you've initiated that folder to become a local repository, right? So what we did now, when we initiate repository, that our Power BI project file becomes a local repository. But now we also need the remote repository. So we can make changes back and forth. We can make changes here, and it syncs into your Power BI project file. You can track, you can give that change a name. Oh, I added this measure. Oh, I removed this. Oh, I edited this. All of them, you can be giving them, you can give them a name. So all the changes that you probably made, you can give them a name. So now, this is my initial state of my Power BI project file. This is the model.b file. It's showing that I have sales amount multiplied by 2. I have a new measure called staff counts, blah, 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 blah. So let me close this, right? Because I saved something now. You see that it's now telling me that there's a change that has happened, right? I can just commit it and say, so this now it's not going to create a new branch. It's just going to add a new changes. So I can call it again initial states. I can call that my commit initial states, and I say commit, right? So that is the initial state of things, right? So there's no change actually in that. So this is when, before I save that project file. Now when I saved it, this is what I see, right? Now let me go back to my model.b file. So let's say I want to now make another change, and instead of this one should be multiplied by 2, it should just be the way it was before, right? Now, since I made this change, right? I can come here and say, so you can actually do, create different commits and you can be staging them. I change this, I stage it, I change this, I stage it before I finally commit, and I'll give it a name. So I will say, I'll call this one adjusted sales amount measure, right? I adjusted sales amount measure, and I'm going to click on commit, right? You see that for everything that I'm doing, you see that it's telling me now that before it used to be sum sales amount multiplied by 2, but now it has now become sum of sales amount, right? So this was what I have there earlier, right? These two commits that I have here, these are the main things I had earlier, but now that I've adjusted sales amounts, this is now what I have, right? So as you are making changes to your model.bin file, you can, be committing those changes, and you can be tracking. And you see that when I open my cursor, it's telling me that somebody named Adeyemo was the one that made that change, right? Now, assuming that you have published this, your branch, to a remote repository, to GitHub, and maybe one of your staff, one of the, your colleagues in your data team has made a change, and you want to see what change did they make. What change did they make? We're also going to look at that. You can use fetch. You can use fetch. You can use pull. And there's another one. What's that third one? Fetch, pull, and push, right? So for example, anytime you make a change and you want to push it to your remote repository like your GitHub, you are going to use push, right? You are going to use push. But if there are some changes that have been made on your remote repository, you are going to be using fetch. Or you use fetch or you use pull. Now, when you use fetch will not automatically sync those changes to your project file. What fetch is going to do is going to allow you to see the changes before syncing them, right? But if you use pull is going to, you will see the changes and it's going to commit that changes inside directly into your Power BI project file. But if you made the change here and not on GitHub, which is your remote repository, you are going to use push to push that changes so that your remote repository can be updated about the latest changes that you have done to your Power BI project file. So now the next thing I'm going to do now is to actually publish this branch, right? I'm going to publish this branch to my remote repository. So I can click on publish me. So I have some folders already in my GitHub, right? In my GitHub. So let me even open my GitHub. Let me open my GitHub. Say GitHub. That folder does not exist again. I understand. Right. So I'm going to go to my public folder, and probably I might initiate a new repository. So let me come here. Which one is this one? .user, or not this one. So I have two repositories there. Okay, I'm not going to be using any of this. Let me go back. Let me use this one. Right, and I'm going to create a new repository. So I'll come here, I'll click on new repository. I'm going to give it a name. I can call it demo for CI/CD. Demo for CI/CD. You want the description? I want it to be public. You can make it private. If it's public, anyone can see your repository. If it's private, you can choose, who is going to see your repository, right? And I'm going to click on create repository, right? I'm going to click on create repository. Then I'm going to copy this repository because I will be doing it in my VS Code. So I'll go back to my VS Code, and when I want to publish, because of these ones were the initial one I used before, but I'm not using them again, right? So what I'm going to do now is click on publish branch. It's not bringing those ones. I don't even have these ones again. They are not even existing again. So what am I going to do now? So what I'm probably going to do, so let me say I just pick one of these. It's publishing it, even though, oh, it has published it. So let me open it in GitHub and see. Okay. So I have it here. So there's nothing for me to use this one again. So I'm going to go to my model.bin file, right? The same one where we had there that you are seeing on your VS Code. I'm going to go to the model.bin file. And let's say I want to make changes again. I want to go to my sales, anywhere there's sales amounts. Why am I not seeing it here? Sales. Oh, this was the one I did before. Let me go back. So once we find amounts, right? So I should have that in so many places and not just one place. Oh, sales amounts, right? So let's say I want to now, uh, you know, adjust the sales amount again. Or maybe I'll probably create a new measure and I want to adjust it. So if I'm trying to adjust, it's going to tell me that I need to put it switch to editor. Right? I'll click on switch to editor, right? And I'm going to adjust it back again. I can say multiply by 3 now. Multiply by 3, just for example though, multiply by 3, right? And when I did these adjustments, right, I have to commit the changes. I'm going to click on commit changes. Now you have to give that your change a name, right? You have to give it a name. So let me call it second sales amount tax adjustments. Right? Second sales amount tax adjustments. Now there are two options here: commit directly to main branch and create a new branch for this commit and start a pull request. So if I click on commit directly to a main branch, it means that it's going to commit that changes, right? It's going to commit that changes to the main branch that you have, this branch, right? This is your main branch, this init, right? It's going to commit it to that branch, right, directly. But if I say create a new branch for this commit and start a pull request, that is if probably there's an hierarchy in your place of work and you want the whole team to see it, or maybe your manager or the director or whatever is in charge of the department to see that change that you are trying to commit before accepting it and committing it to the main branch. That's when you use the create new branch for this commit. But now let me just use the commit directly to the main branch, and I'll click on commit changes. And when I go back to my Visual Studio code, right, and probably maybe I refresh or something, right? So I can say fetch. That is, it's going to fetch in case there is some changes that are made on the remote repository. I can click on fetch, and you see that it's telling me that there was a change. There was a change that happened from what? And this is the name of the same second sales amount tax adjustment. That's the name of that change that I just did, right? But everything is still in this my main branch. And I'm going to say sync changes. And I'll say sync changes. The action will pull and push commits from and to origin main. I'll say okay, right? And it's going to sync that change to my Power BI project file. And I'm going to right click here and I'm going to open that's my Power BI project file. And I'm going to see this new sales amount expression. And everywhere that I've used, every visual I've used, it is going to affect the numbers. But the numbers is not going to be times 3 of what it used to be, right? So the what's it called? The remote repository is for collaboration, which is the GitHub. You know, the one here is for local repository. When we are using Visual Studio Code alone and we are seeing the changes in our Power BI file, right? That one becomes, so now you see that the sales amount now is now multiplied by 3. So that is how you make changes and you fetch the change and you probably, sync it and you see the results in your. Now, the only issue that I have with this method is that for every time you make a change and you commit those changes, you have to manually publish it to Power BI service. So it does not automatically sync to Power BI service. So, but in our next sessions that we're going to be having between now and June, we are going to be having another section on how we are going to be using Azure DevOps with Git integration in Power BI service to see that from your GitHub, you commit the changes and you see the changes or the updates in your Power BI service, your published reports. Also, I've come to the end of my demo. This is the little that I know, and I'm probably also improving on my skills. But this is what I want to show you guys. So if you have any questions, you can ask me now.
Thank you, Benga. So much. I don't know if you'll be sharing this video.
Sorry?
Sorry, this recording.
Yes, it's going to be on our YouTube page. I'll share the link with you. Okay, some people have questions. Ayomiku?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Benga.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, I have a couple of questions. And a comment. So for the publishing directly to Power BI service, even though I've not tried it, it's just a thought. I know currently there's something that you can do with SharePoint where you can, any changes you make to your
I think I saw that video.
I think maybe it's one of the newer updates or something.
Yes,
so you can synchronize with your SharePoint and then it will automatically be pushing the updates from your Power BI desktop to your Power BI service.
Yes,
so I'm just thinking maybe if that is the case, then you might not need Azure DevOps. Maybe there will be a way you can, any edit you make, it will just automatically publish and you still keep that version control. So secondly, the question I now have is, so you've taught us how to collaborate with VS Studio and the likes, but in a case where, like I think someone had mentioned, is working by himself and he uses mainly just the Power BI desktop. But I'm more concerned about version control because you're working in an organization that you're not trying to do Power BI governance and you want to have a version control for any changes that happen, on the semantic model and on the reports. Can we do the changes instead of using VS Studio or GitHub? Can we do the changes on Power BI desktop and then those changes are committed to GitHub? So that the version control then reflects on GitHub rather than doing the changes on Visual Studio or GitHub.
Okay, so if you make the changes in Power BI project file, the Visual Studio Code will detect that there's a change.
Okay.
And you have to still push it to the remote repository, which is your GitHub.
Okay, you have to manually go and push it to the remote repository.
I think so. I don't think it's automatically just syncs to GitHub like that. I don't think so. But if anybody here has done something like that before, they can actually tell us. For me, I don't know.
But it's a good thing to know that at least there's a way of having that version control because there are some organizations that are big on having version control for any changes that happen in.
They will know who made the change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ayomikun. Oye, round Paul.
Yes, sir. Thanks for the section. So
Thank
I
you.
wanted to have for enterprise solution.
Yeah.
The organization is going to have a repo on GitHub for official use, right? Or it's
Yes.
just with our personal mail we are going to use for enterprise solution.
Yes. They can have it. But some
Do you get
some,
my
some, some
question?
companies don't. For example, where I work, we don't use. No, I think they use GitHub. The data engineering
Okay.
guys use GitHub, but I think they use more of Azure DevOps.
Okay,
So they
because I know
can.
more of this Git works for software and web development very well.
Yes, but now we are also doing it for Power BI too now.
I thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Jonathan. Jonathan. I can't pronounce his name.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. Sorry, I didn't know I was muted.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Mm.
When you started, you mentioned that one of your colleague had just taken the PR 300 exam and she aced it. I'd like to see how a bit okay, and he aced it, and I'd
Yeah.
like to see how I could connect, and because I'm actually preparing, and I'm hoping that within a week or two, less than 2 weeks, I should be ready to take the exam.
Okay.
I like to,
So I'm
yes, I
going
like
to be dropping my WhatsApp number on the chat session.
Oh,
You can always reach out to me on WhatsApp.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Mr. Said.
Yes, right. So my question is, I know for Power BI, they kind of should I layer the functionality according to your license, right? So to achieve this Git integration, which of the licenses is will give us function to this?
I think starting from Pro upwards, we should be able to.
Okay, awesome. So also relating to licenses, but digressing from the class of today, I noticed the common way to share your report when you're done is to share link with those that will consume the report, right? But I was going through a random video on YouTube and I saw them creating app. Yeah, you set up your report as an app and all that. Do you have an idea which license can do this? Because I have a pro license, but I don't have that functionality. So I wanted to be actually sure before I make requests for a license that has that capability.
Hold on, sure. Do you
It's
Pro should
the
be
premium
Pro should be
license now,
enough
premium per
now.
user.
Is
Okay,
it premium per user that
per
you need?
user.
No,
For
I
you to
think
use
a pro license should work, but the way
As
you
an app, no, it won't work.
that's strange. Okay, I'll check it out, but I'll check it out. So don't let me mislead.
If you're on the WhatsApp group, you can help me drop it or drop it to this chat. I'll come back to
I think
reference it.
for CICD, I think one needs a premium, a Power BI premium.
Okay, premium, right?
Yes, I think you need the Power BI premium. Yes, because this my account is a premium per user account, right? So I think maybe that's the reason why I can do it. I can use it. So because our time is fast spent, I will have showed us how to do Visual Studio Code to update your. So you have the extensions here, but maybe that will be in our coming sections. I can install the Fabric Studio extension here and the Power BI Studio extension, so that you can refresh your Power BI reports on service. You can refresh from here from your Visual Studio Code. You can even update your data source with Visual Studio Code without even opening your Power BI service at all. But maybe we'll do that in the coming sections. Ayomiko?
Yes, just on the question he asked, I can't chat, so I'll drop the link. You can use the pro license and the premium per user for publishing on Power BI apps. So it's not just the per user. Yeah.
I know Pro could do that because I can create an app and I'm using Pro for my place of work. Okay, thank you guys. We've come to the end of today's section. We hope to see you in our next coming sections. We hope to collaborate with you guys. I like interactive sessions like this. Somebody comes and brings in new ideas. somebody has their own point, somebody can actually share their experiences, and everybody's learning, whether you're the presenter, whether you are the listener. Everybody learns one or two. So thank you very much for the contribution, guys. I appreciate you. On behalf of the Winnipeg Power Platform User Group, I say a very big thank you to everyone on this call. I hope to see you in our next sections. Have a wonderful Easter weekend. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
I thought you were going to put the YouTube
Bye.
link.
I have to download the video first, and then I'm going to post it on YouTube. I'll share the YouTube link with us.
Yeah, Benga, please, please, your membership, your community, how do we join? I mean, I wanted to ask a question the last time we met, but
Okay, I'm going to share the link. I'm going to share the link for a form. You fill the form, then I'll send you a welcome email.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.